All right, good evening and welcome to our October 2023 NPU-Y General Body Meeting. I'd like to welcome you all to joining and thank you for being on here. As we bring our meeting to order, I do want to give you a few housekeeping rules. If you can please stay muted so that we can go through our meeting in an expedient manner. Please use your raised hand reaction, which is on the bottom of your screen in the reaction button. You'll be called to the floor in the order that you are your hand is raised. So we are operating in Robert's Rules of Order, so anybody that speaks out of turn is in violation of such. If you are on a phone, please use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute. You may also use the chat for any nonverbal remarks as well. And lastly, if you do have a member that is attending that's on the same Zoom link, please leave their information in the chat so that we can make sure they get their voting eligibility and their attendance. So first up will be our approval of the minutes. These are our minutes from September 18th, 2023. All of our minutes can also be found on our website and through our Google Drive. There is a Google Drive link that is in our chat at the moment. Are there any corrections to the minutes, Madam Secretary?
No.
All right, so with no corrections, the minutes are approved. All right, we will go to our next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, point
Yes.
of order, you might want to say approved and adopted into the record. That kind of lets folks know that it becomes official part of the record.
I am following Robert's Rules of Order from our parliamentarians, actual verbiage of what they trained us to do. So I do feel that I'm not out of order. But we can change that today as to minutes are approved and adopted. All right, next item agenda is the approval of the agenda. On the screen, you see the agenda. There are no amendments as I am aware of. Are there any in opposition of the agenda? All right, as I see no hands raised, we will approve the agenda. Let me just get everybody logged in, and I am going to make Gloria the co-chair so you can help move some people in here as they come in. All right, next item on the agenda is our reports from our city department representatives. First up is we are going to have Captain Pettis. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Reginald Pettis, Captain in Zone 3, making me the Assistant Zone Commander. Major Ricker, the Zone Commander. I'm going to do things a little differently tonight. Instead of going through category by category, comparing September to August, I'll give you the total Part 1 crime count. We had 30 in August compared to, or I'm sorry, 30 in September compared to 43 in August. Again, the Part 1 crimes, 30 compared to 43. Next, I'm going to give you where we stand year to date in the Part 1 crime categories here in Zone 3. Let me start by saying we are down in every category except motor vehicle theft. And you all know by now that's due to the Hyundai Kia trend where they're so easy to steal. So let me start there because that's the worst number. Year to date in Zone 3, we're up 117% in auto thefts. That is 370 this time last year compared to 802 today. 370 to 802 equals a 117% increase. The next category, all other larcenies, minus 27%. That is year to date, we're at 321 compared to 439 this time last year. Shoplifting, we're negative 34% at 92 right now compared to 139 last year. Theft from vehicle, that's car break-ins, we're negative 26%, 480 to 645. Burglaries, minus 32%, 209 to 306. Robberies, negative 34%, 69 to 105. Aggravated assaults, minus 22%, 461 to 592. Rape, minus 62%, 8 to 21. And in homicide, that is minus 11%, 31 to 35. Year to date in zone 3, we're minus 7%. Of course, we would be have a much greater number if it weren't for the 117% increase in motor theft. But we're doing everything we can with the club steering locks that we've been giving away for months now and trying to educate the public on that. I know I'm running close to my 2 minutes. So last thing I'll say is the biggest increase that we see lately are theft in general. A lot of people that come into the zone to do work are being victimized. So they might not necessarily live here, such as people that are doing renovation on houses. Their vehicles get broken into, their stuff, they leave their tools out and people steal those. People that are doing lawn work, they leave tools and equipment in the back of their truck beds, people steal that. So that's what we're running into it right now. Other than the actual cars being stolen, is people leaving their property unsecured that's being taken. And I know I ran up, so I'll stop there.
That's okay. I do appreciate the information, and I know that public safety is one of our primary concerns in our community. I will now call on those that have questions or comments for our public safety officer. Melody Ford, you have the floor.
Good evening, Captain Pettis. It's Melody. I happened to be on Fairfield last week when there was a high-speed chase with a white, looked like a Tesla with a blown-out tire. Do you have any details on how that ended?
No, ma'am. And I'll say this, when you see a situation like that, my information is in the chat. Please email me right then so I can try to figure out who it is. It may not have been zone 3. It may not have been APD. It could have been GSP. I don't have any information on that. But if you hit me up right then, I can get back to you when you see it.
Okay, yeah, it was a good 8 APD officers in pursuit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And for anybody else that has something like that to send it into our public safety officers, you may also text me. Most of you have my cell phone number or the NPU-Y number, so I can reach out to APD and Captain Pettis as well. Next we have is Kimberly Brooks. You have the floor.
Thank you. So the meeting that we had for the last meeting, I spoke with the safety representative, and he stated that some information based on some statistics that he gave, and I requested some data for that, and I wanted to know what is the follow-up for that process? Did I need to contact him directly, or would he address that? The second thing is, currently right now as we speak, before I came to this meeting, one of the concerns that I addressed in safety was the over-policing of the villages at Carver neighborhood. So before I came into this meeting, as we speak right now, there are about 5 police officers in this division. Because I know most of the children here, I just so happened to be walking past them to ask them if they knew what was going on. When I was approached they were approached by an officer, Officer Walker was his name. And I had to explain to the children that they needed to remain silent, because I have a police officer that is questioning minors without the presence of an adult. And the first response that he gave me when I asked him what was his reasoning for being there was, they have rifles. And I said, because I saw them walking in the community. So his response to me was, they're kids with guns and rifles. These children didn't have kids and rifles. So that confirms a portion of my concern. And I would like to know or get the thoughts on the Atlanta Police Department and what is the resolution to this, because that, I'm not going to say what it does to me, but I'm going to say that that is unacceptable on becoming an officer. Number one. Number two, the respect for the community. And last but not least, the safety concern. So I would like to hear some thoughts on these officers over policing this area. And I will contact whoever's in this email to address that. But I like to hear, your thoughts on that, because you have 9 children that are being questioned by an aggressive officer with me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. That should not have been the case.
Okay, I think unpacking what you said. Thank you for bringing that to me. I think that you're saying there's safety concern because there are more police officers in your neighborhood as opposed to less. Is that
No,
first?
my safety concern is the valid reasoning of police officers being in the neighborhood. If you are called, then I understand why you're here. If there is a threat, I understand why you are here. But me living in this area, right in the entrance, I've seen police officers pull too many people over. And unless everybody in this subdivision is driving without insurance and a good tag, I'm not understanding why that's the case, which is why I asked the officer before you for the data in regards to these pullovers, because in confirmation today, I was with the children first. When I asked the officer kindly, he literally stated to me that those young children were carrying weapons, rifles to be exact, and they were shaking their head no. And I was concerned of the concern that they have because they were scared. And when I explained to him that he should not be questioning minors without their parents, he said, well, he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He walked away from me.
Well, without addressing you said it was Officer Walker. I don't know what call he's on.
I'll send the email to whomever. I think your Officer Peters. I will send an email for an explanation of it, but I really like the information data-wise from
Yeah,
this
Ms. Brooks,
division.
Captain Pettis is our Zone 3 captain, so he does have his information in the chat. And if you are able to answer any of the questions, Captain Pettis, however, I think we do need to speak with this offline, and I'm happy for all of us to get onto an email together so that we can start working to address this concern, as it's definitely been more than once that this has been raised.
So I have a question for you, madam. So the best way, for these issues are concerned, because it's not mine, it's the community, the best way to get this concern addressed in this meeting is to contact him directly. There's nothing that the NPU does as a whole to be involved in this process?
We can be involved together. So if you would like to have us all, you, I, other board members of NPU-Y, as well as our Zone 3 public safety, let's meet together through email or in person, on the phone, Zoom, however works for all of us. And let's address this when it's a better time suit, because then we can take time to actually go through this.
Okay, so that's what I prefer also, as an FYI.
Yes, I will drop my email in the chat, and I know Captain Pettis also has, but I'll make sure that I have it forwarded over to you, okay?
Awesome, thank you.
Wonderful.
One thing to that. About 2 months ago, myself, the chief of police, the assistant chief of police, and our division commander met with the ownership of the villages of Carver, as well as all of the managers, the assistant manager, so on and so forth, the district manager. And their main concern, verbatim, was children with guns in the complex. So if our officers are there investigating anybody with a weapon, it was brought to our attention, of course, not this call, but directly from the owner and the manager and the people that work there and the people that receive these complaints from the residents. They don't always call 911. Sometimes they call the leasing office.
I have a relationship with the leasing office and the owner.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I'm just letting you know that is one reason why we do police that area. The villages of Carver. I also say that the villages of Carver, that apartment complex, leads the zone, the entirety of Zone 3 in crime of any apartment complex. You are number one. So we're going to have a presence there. We're there to protect everybody.
Correct. I just wanted the data. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks, and we'll definitely speak offline soon. Paul, you have your hand raised. Paul McMurray. You are muted, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify. Yeah, I have heard that at one time Lakewood Heights had the highest amount of incidents, but it's now the villages of Carver, and that's where a lot of the stolen cars end up. What I've heard from various meetings, I'm sorry I don't have Miss Brooks's vantage point, I just have what I heard in these meetings.
Absolutely. Thank you for that insight. Zach Murray, you have the floor.
Thanks. Hi, Officer. I was wondering if you said you met with the ownership. Is there a plan to meet with residents, who live there 24/7? And in addition to that, I wanted to know, just given some of the challenges over the year, in terms of the interaction with police and young people, what is some of the training or instruction that you're giving to officers about those interactions, given that young people a lot of times don't know their rights, and most of them aren't, behaving badly. So yeah, just wondering if you could address those couple of things.
Yeah, firstly, I come to the stakeholders meeting that's monthly at the Villages of Carver. I try to get to about half of them. If not, a lieutenant will represent us. And at the most, there have been 3 or 4 residents. So we have made ourselves available monthly, and the turnout isn't there. However, we continue to attend those meetings. Secondly, our officers receive double the amount of hours in training required by the state of Georgia while they're in the police academy. They have training on how to deal with different age groups of people, as well as different languages that people speak. And we continue to train throughout the year once they come out to the zone. But I don't have any specific anything that I can point to that you'd be able to research to say, hey, we taught our guys to interact with juveniles this way or that way.
Thank you. And if once we speak to residents in that community, like Kimberly Brooks, if we need to maybe set something up for our residents there to understand rights, I'm sure that our APD officers would able to assist with us on that matter. Gloria Hawkins, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair. I can tell you that there is a stakeholders public safety group at one time functioning there in the Villages at Carver. The e-board, some of us would meet one Friday out of the month, I think, with the management group. And the questions that have been asked are good questions, but it has been very difficult to get the community itself without incentivizing somehow, whether it's giveaways or gifts, to participate in that process. Again, Troy Nunley, the prior chair, and I would meet monthly with, again, Shannon Judd, I think, who presides over that group. The group is named Integral. That is the management group. And I just want to highlight the point that Captain Pettis made earlier. 6 weeks ago, the management group was called into a room with Chief Shearbaum, who, again, heads the Atlanta Police Department, to help come to some kind of resolution. I think it's true that the community needs to be involved, but I think the data will show that it's very difficult to incentivize that community, and that's been part and parcel of the problem of getting this issue resolved.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Captain Pettis? All right, as I see none, Captain Pettis, do you mind dropping your information once again in the chat, just so we have it right up in front?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Next, I will call. Sorry, I'm a little out of order now here. Hello, Carrie, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Hala Carey, and I'm Solicitor Senior Counsel at the City of Atlanta Solicitor's Office. For those of you who do not know, I believe your former rep from our office was On Burns. Is that correct?
Yes, it wasn't.
On has left us. I believe she's practicing in Gwinnett right now, and
Madam
you will
Chair,
have a.
Point
I'm
of
sorry.
order, Tobe Johnson.
Oh, we
Tobe
did have,
Johnson.
correct.
Oh,
Have a switch
okay.
for a moment.
Okay. But you will have a new person, but for today, it'll be me. And the solicitor's office, as you all know, handles most of the traffic offenses that occur within the city of Atlanta. We handle all the code enforcement cases, and we handle a handful of criminal state statutes. We do also do a lot of community engagement and outreach, and in that capacity, besides being a DUI prosecutor, that is one of my roles. And I want to tell you a little bit more about our outreach right now. For this past month, we've been engaged in campus safety events. So we've touched base with Georgia Tech, Georgia State University, Clark Atlanta, and Emory, their police departments, educating. I think Mr. Murray indicated just a few minutes ago, what conversations do we have? So we actually go out in the field and we deal with students and we tell them a little bit about how our office interacts with the public safety umbrella in total, and how, we might be involved with them or they might be involved with us, not necessarily because they receive a citation or they're in trouble, but sometimes they may be victims of an accident or they may be witnesses to something that's gone down. And so we would have to prove our cases, obviously, beyond a reasonable doubt, and we would subpoena those individuals. So we try to establish positive relationships before there's any issue. In that same vein, I was talking to Miss Gloria earlier that prosecution is a reactive posture. Community engagement is a proactive posture. So we're trying to do a lot more proactive to try and reduce crime. In that particular vein, I wanted to let you know about a senior citizen public safety event that we are going to be having in your community on Friday from 10 to 12:30 at the Lakewood Church of Hope at 1766 Lakewood Avenue. We're going to be working with our partners, including Zone 3 Command, to discuss some of the things that impact the neighborhood. Specifically, we're going to go over cyber and telemarketing security scams and how to protect yourself, what to look for, what to do, and to try and reduce your being a victim. We're also going to be talking about fire and emergency preparedness with our Atlanta Fire Rescue partners. And we're going to be talking about the commercial harassment ordinance, which passed in October 2020 during the height of COVID, which is designed to hold people responsible, or unscrupulous investors responsible, for lowballing.
That is
I'm
time.
sorry?
You have 30 seconds to wrap up. That is
Uh, uh,
time. Thank you.
Very good. Well, I would love for you all to come. It is an event that is open for everyone. It's 1766 Lakewood Avenue. I've put my information in the chat. I believe I've also sent the flyer to the chair and as well as the neighborhood leaders. So if you have any questions or want any information, please feel free to email me.
Thank you so
Thank you for your
much.
time.
Appreciate it. And do you actually have a chance you can drop that flyer in the chat for everybody to share, or I can get that in there shortly?
If you don't mind doing that, I don't know how to do that.
No problem.
Madam-
Now open questions for Ms. Carey, which, Gloria Hawkins, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, I should have told you I sent that flyer to you just before the meeting. I don't know if you're able to retrieve it real quickly. No, it's just that, again, I just want to reiterate, this is a fabulous public safety briefing that's going to take place Friday. It's from 10 to 12:30. We're sorry we couldn't get as much advance notice. The mayor will be there to give opening remarks. Many of the city departments will be there, including the crime prevention inspectors. Also, Home Depot may have a potential to meet with some community individuals and see if they can work out a plan for maybe slight or small repairs. It is a phenomenal program that Senior Solicitor Carey has put together. Our chagrin is that we did not have much more time to publish it to the community, but we're getting the word out as we speak. We are slated to see 50 individuals, but we think anywhere from 50 to 100 if the word can be gotten out between now and Friday. So there, I just wanted to kind of recap that and thank her for the work.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Next I have, sorry, I just covered my screen. Zach Murray, you have the floor.
Thanks. Good evening, Solicitor. I was wondering, apologies, I won't be able to be there on Friday, but I'll make sure we get it out to the Lakewood Heights community Facebook group. But I was wondering, you were mentioning the commercial harassment, commercial real estate harassment thing, and I was just wondering if you could give a brief overview, because we have a lot of neighbors who get those "We Buy Houses" signs or letters or calls every day. And so just wondering if you could give a brief overview about what that law intends to do?
Absolutely. So the law passed, as I said, in October 2020, and it is basically designed to criminalize when someone contacts someone who owns a home unsolicited, requests them to sell their property for below fair market value. It could be either, and it's harassing. The harassment portion is fulfilled when when they continue to touch base with you either by internet, by text message, by emails or calls, continuously bothering the person when they have told them that they are not interested in selling. So we have an investigator who is directly involved in investigating those cases. We have a specific email address, which is commercialharassment@atlantagA.gov. And we have an investigator who will then pick up the ball, investigate, and bring charges under the city code, in which case it would have a fine of up to $1,000 and up to 6 months in jail. Obviously, that's the sentencing maximums.
Thank you so much. Hopefully we can get that information out to everybody so they can know who to contact if they're having any difficulties. I did share on the screen the flyer that was shared with me, just so everybody could see it, as well as dropping it in the chat.
I appreciate that. One last thing I just wanted to mention to Mr. Murray is that we are also working on a young adult driver safety initiative. And part of that initiative will involve conversations with our youth, specifically all high school students in the Atlanta public school system. That is going to be coming very shortly. And we're going to be talking about know your rights and what to do when you're stopped by an officer for a traffic infraction or some other infraction.
Wonderful. Thank you for that information. Are there any other questions? Right, as I see no hand raised, I appreciate you joining the call this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. We do like to squeeze in now our public safety officer, just so, because it does correlate with the last two city department representatives that spoke. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the bulk of, with Captain Pettis as well as Senior Solicitor Carey, I think coverage is there. I applaud the questions that surface around youth and youth issues that have led to seemingly what is the statistics or data showing is a surge in criminal activity. My office, the ACRB, will also be joining with Senior Solicitor Carey in a Know Your Rights seminar, which we will be publishing soon. It will take place at the Villages at Carver. It will involve ACRB panel of board members and attorneys. And the thrust of it is knowing your rights in police encounters, ultimately such that you leave that encounter alive. That is the basics of it. And again, we will provide more information as we expect that to occur within the next 6 weeks. Again, it will be open to the public. It is entitled Young Men of Color, primarily because there's an inordinate issue of, as we've seen in the media over the past few years, that have depicted unfair and unjust treatment of that particular group. So applaud all of us in that we recognize that's an issue that we all want to resolve.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, next we have Officer Cofield with Code Enforcement. You have the floor. Is Officer Cofield still on the call?
She is.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Officer Cofield, Code Enforcement for the City of Atlanta. And a couple of things I wanted to talk to you all about this evening. One was doing an open records request. I'm getting a lot of calls about other people's property. And if you're not the owner of the actual property, I can't give you any information that I may or my office has obtained unless you are the actual owner. I can't give anybody else's information out. One way you can do an open records request on a case that is involving your actual address is through the City of Atlanta. Once you go to the City of Atlanta, you can go in the search box at the very top and you can just type in an open records request. And if this is your address or you want to search somebody else's, it'll tell you everything that was going on in the particular case and what was going on within code enforcement. That's just one thing, because I get in a lot of cases where people are calling and ask for others' information. So that's one way you can't get open records or look at what was going on in code enforcement. Another thing is I have the quarterly July, August, and September for code enforcement violations that you all had a grand total of 72 cases. 59 of them were property maintenance and 13 of those were highly hazardous cases. That's all for me at the moment. One kind of hot case I do kind of have is getting the removal of all that trash at 1778. And I think we're at 1779, if I'm not mistaken. That's where all the trash just sits up on this property, and she continuously has the property there. Whereas I think she's in jail now, so the owners are trying to come in and kind of clean it up, and they've been taking stuff away from the property. So I intend on tomorrow kind of stopping by. I had went by it today, and as I do often go by the area, but I wanted to kind of stop and figure out who was at the actual location. Was it the owner, or did he have actual people there kind of moving that stuff around for her? Yes, ma'am.
That's time. So we will raise questions. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the
Yes,
floor.
Madam Chair, just wanted Inspector Cofield to identify 1778 and 1779 Lakewood Avenue for our citizens. That location is at the intersection of Clare and Lakewood Avenue, both of the properties, 1778 Lakewood Avenue and 1779 Lakewood Avenue.
Yes, that's correct. Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Cofield. We had a bunch of neighbors on Adair Avenue who got notices about garbage cans not being moved within 24 hours. I think it happened on a Friday and our garbage day is Thursday. A few of the neighbors live in a place on a hill where there is no appropriate place other than the sidewalk to locate their garbage cans. And so they were asking me to ask you how they could resolve that and ensure they don't get another notice, in the event that there is no appropriate place that meets code for them to put their garbage cans.
Okay, so I'm not gonna answer your question because I don't have the answer. But a lot of people kind of get Officer Lawrence and Officer Cofield. So Officer Lawrence works for Department of Public Works. She can actually tell you anything about the trash can. When Officer Cofield is involved, it's the housing, code enforcement, and it's the grass. Anytime you step on your grass and back, that involves housing code enforcement. When you're dealing with trash cans and the sidewalk and 5 feet into the street, that's when you're going to deal with Officer Lawrence. And I'm not sure she's on here today, but she should be able to answer that question for you.
Yes, she will be called upon shortly. So
All right.
we can raise that question before we raise any more hands on that. Any other questions for code enforcement? All right, as I see none, thank you so much for joining the call.
All right, you all have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thanks.
Next we have is Gerard Jackson with Park and Rec.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gerard Jackson with Parks and Rec. I wanted to go over a few things. I will be attaching a flyer to the chat that goes over all the events that will be hosted by the City of Atlanta Parks and Rec Department. And I go over any events at any other centers in your neighborhood. so you can be made aware.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, if you are able to speak up a little bit, you're quite muted.
All right, can you hear me now?
A little better, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, let me move you right over there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's still a little bit muted, but I think we can get by. Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. I'm mobile. So I was trying to speak a little louder. So I'm going to attach a flyer to the chat to go over a few of the events that's going on in various recreation parks and parks. But it's a few updates I would like to go over. Pittman and Thomasville this year will be hosting Halloween festivals October the 31st. It's a good opportunity to get out there, meet your community, meet the people in your community, and we're going to be passing out candies, hefty snacks, and going over the particular programs in our neighborhoods. Also, I want everybody to know that the Thomasville Esports program will be starting this Wednesday. It's free of charge. We have a total of 20 gaming computers at the location. And on Wednesdays and Saturdays, we will have coaches at the location that will be able to assist with teamwork, game preparation, how to get better at the game, and various other things to make sure that if this is a career choice that a person would like to participate in, they will get every help they can. Also, would like everybody to know that basketball will be starting in November. So I think that the rec centers that will be hosting your area is Thomasville, Pittman, Roselle Fanning, and Southfield. At this time, if there's any questions or concerns with the Parks and Rec, please let me know.
Yes, please. Any questions for our city official for the Department of Park and Recreation? All right, as I see no hands raised, if you can please put that flyer in the chat for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, next we have is our community outreach specialist, and this is also for Department of Park and Recreation. This is Philip E. Smith.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time coming in, so I wanted to say thank y'all. I'm the community outreach specialist, just being promoted up from community affairs. So with the new position, we are currently coming in and doing a little bit more community engagement, especially with the activities that are happening in your neighborhoods. So earlier in the chat, I put something in, but I'll drop it in again after I finish the presentation or now. So if you all have seen, we have a NPU community engagement newsletter that comes out every month. And I put it in the chat as well. So you can also go to the website and get those activities that are coming up. But as Gerald mentioned, we do have basketball season that will be starting up in November. We also have dance majorette that'll also be happening for our girls ages 5 through 17, excuse me. So we'll have that coming up. We also have midnight basketball that is still around. So if you want to come out to CT Martin on Wednesdays and Thursdays, that is also available. And a good thing about this season, this is the first season that we offered it to women. So the women's league will also be playing on those nights as well. If you're interested for youth ages 6 to 18, we also have the City of Atlanta's Dolphin swim team that is available, as well as developmental swim classes for ages 6 to 18. That's also attached to the NPU engagement newsletter. We also have after school program, the teen leadership program as well. Our primetime senior program, which is 100% free for those seniors who are age 55 and older. You can also check that out at any of the recreation centers. Girls volleyball is also continuing. The season ends on Thursday, October the 26th, but there is a championship that'll be happening in November. If you need that official date, that'll come from Miss Donna Faye Douglas. Her information is also on that flyer as well. And then our youth and cheer season will be ending soon. So if you would like to support them as well, they will be playing at 2 locations. It'll either be at Anderson Park or over near Boulevard at that location. And also wanted to add that Saturday hours are also available at our recreation centers, which include CT Martin, MLK, Roselle Fan, William Walker, and we also added Washington Park. And with those, you are also able to do lap swim or just enjoy the indoor recreation at the natatoriums. Also, my information, I'll put that in there too. If you have any information that's geared towards like community engagement, if you want to partner on any type of events, just feel free to hit me up because I'm looking to do very more community engagement and being more active with NPU. So if anyone has any questions, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you putting the flyer in the chat. Any questions? I see Kimberly Brooks, you have the floor.
Really quick, how many recreational centers do you all have in our NPU?
Inside your NPU, I know we have Pittman, we also have Thomasville, and this is Y. We also have Pittman, Thomasville. I don't believe South Bend is in. Gerard has left, but I can get that official list in for you just to make sure it's geared towards everything that's in the area. But primarily with Pittman being the heaviest part and Roselle fan, all of those activities are at those centers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, if I can help you, I think the two that are located at NPU-Y, South Bend and the Arthur Langford Recreational Center, which may no longer be there. It may be just a park. But South Bend, I believe, is Pittman, and the other two you named are actually in X. Pittman is in X, I believe.
It is, yes. Pittman is in X. Actually, V. Yeah, that's V. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. It's gonna be easy day.
All right, so we only have one.
I'm sorry, there was no hand raised. I was not sure who was speaking.
It was Ms. Brooks, Madam Chair. She asked if there was only one, and I believe there's only one, South Bend in Y.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we do have a few parks that do need some maintenance in order to be used appropriately. So hopefully we can get those worked out with our Park and Rec department soon. Are there any other questions for as I see none? Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. I appreciate you being on the call. Next I have is our Officer Lawrence, which is the City of Atlanta Department of Public Works Suite Team. You have the floor.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Officer Lawrence. I'm with the Department of Public Works. I'm with the Suite Team. Just a couple of reminders to go out this evening. First, we're still on bi-weekly collection of yard trimming. This week is actually a non-collection of yard trimming. That means there will be no collection of yard trimming this week unless you have bulk scheduled, and that is 20 or more bags or a large pile of yard trimming. And we are still getting a couple of complaints that is relates to the containers. So I know I did hear Mr. Murray speaking about containers being out with residents getting notices. That's because we've been getting complaints. So as it relates to that, Thursday is typically the collection day for this area unless we have a holiday. So your containers are not to be out until 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And then Thursday you'll have collection, and we do allow you to 9 a.m. by Friday to have them removed back off the right of way. We want the right of way to be clear for residents, either people that have wheelchair, kids, or accessibility for them to be able to access it safely. I know it is some homes in the area where their driveways are in the back of their house. I spoke with some of those residents. I think we came to some resolution to that. But I will put my information back in the chat. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns that relates to that. If I have to come out and meet you to actually show you where it can be properly placed to avoid that, then I'm all here for that as well. Other than that, I don't have anything else tonight, but I'll stand by for any questions or concerns.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Officer Lawrence?
Oh, just a couple of more things. I'm sorry, one more thing, last thing. If you guys have anything as relates to like your neighbors properly disposing of their garbage or recycling, feel free to put in a request to 311. We be out typically within 72 hours, and we'll help them learn how to properly dispose of it. And we're out there, so please feel free to put in those cases, and we'll assist as needed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining the call this evening.
Thank you.
All right, so next we will move on to, I have Ms. Williams with Purpose Built Schools. you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, excuse me. I wanted to invite everyone. We're continuing our One Carver movement. We're having our Carver Cluster Community Block Party. It's scheduled for Saturday, November the 4th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the New Schools at Carver. And that's located at 55 McDonough Boulevard. We hope that you all can join us. I will drop the flyer in the chat. We'll have student performances, food trucks, we'll have school tables, community partners, health services, and family activities and live music. So I just wanted to stop by and drop the flyer off so you all could, come out and join us and socialize. We would love to have you there.
Thank you so much. I look forward to grabbing that flyer. Do we have any questions for our purpose-built schools? All right, as I seen it on here, I do appreciate you coming on and dropping the flyer in the chat if you have not done so already. Because I do not see it on there, so I just want to make sure that we do get that in there. Thank you. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair, just one point of order. I think Senior Solicitor Carey put into the chat that one thing we really meant to mention to the group is that her office provides volunteers to support us in our regular neighborhood cleanups. And I think many would enjoy knowing that. I know Lakewood has an organized cleanup. I'm not sure if it's meeting quarterly. I think it's quarterly, but Senior Solicitor Carey is saying that her office will provide volunteer help to support in that endeavor. And she put it in the chat, but I thought folks might like to hear it and may take, again, it's a monthly cleanup in Lakewood, according to the secretary. So again, I thought that was very important that we let folks know firsthand that she is sending folks to support.
Thank you. All right, so next on our agenda item is comments from our elected officials. So we do ask that our elected officials keep to 2 minutes or less, so that way we can keep through a nice time. We have Michael Ulmer, who is with our council member, Jason Winston in District 1. You have the floor.
Thanks, Nicole. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, just have a few things. I think I can do it in 2 minutes. So legislatively, the council had their full council meeting today. If I'm a little tired, it's probably from that. But committee meetings will take place next week, Monday to Wednesday. We do have some good news that we've made some movement on getting a community meeting scheduled with ATL DOT for the Boulevard Complete Street project. That's going to be Thursday, the 16th at 6 p.m. at the Georgia Hill Neighborhood Center. We actually have a flyer. I'm going to put that in the chat. Senior Solicitor Carey mentioned earlier, Councilmember Winston will be taking part in the event on Friday at 10 a.m. at Lakewood Church of Hope. Hope to get some information out there for seniors for safety. On a less administrative note, Councilmember Winston recently wrapped up his diaper collection drive. Shout out to everybody who helped with that. We're going to be giving those out hopefully sometime in mid-November. So that's the plan as of now. No other real big updates, but happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Ulmer? And this is for District 1, Jason Winston's office. All right, as I see no hands raised, we will be able to move on. Thank you so much for joining this evening. I apologize, we do have one hand.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Good.
Just as you were coming into office, I think it was the 30th of June, we all received this emergency get your wish list in by that Friday, June 30th, I think it was. Where does that stand?
Yeah, I remember we talked about that at the neighborhood meeting. It's my understanding that that was sent out to all the neighborhoods, and I do have a list. I'll get with you offline. I think I have the list you're talking about. So happy to connect with you on that. but we do have, I think we're talking about the same thing, and we do have that list available. I think we're trying to narrow down next steps from there.
Is the monies available?
That's always the big question. I think we're trying to figure out sources, and kind of just wanted to get feedback from the community as to what everyone would like to see. That's kind of where we are right now.
All right, Michael, thanks. Look forward to seeing it. Thanks.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Michael. I believe we may actually have a few updates that we might need to send in to you for speed bumps and traffic control when it comes to speeders in our community. So I'll make sure that we have the correct list out to you soon. So any updates are in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other questions for District 1? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the call. And we will go ahead and move to our next agenda item. Let me just share the agenda so everybody can see. So next on our agenda is going to be our committee reports. First committee will be I'm sorry, if you could please hold all of your questions and comments until after all committee reports are completed. I would greatly appreciate that so we can get through all of them. First committee will be our zoning, land use, and code enforcement, which is Jacob Mills and Bob Morris.
And Jacob, I'm going to turn this over mostly to you, because I think the majority of the zoning issues that are coming up these are in Chosewood. Are you comfortable talking about?
Yeah, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a lot going on in Chosewood. I'll just throw this out there. The next CRC meeting is October 27th. There are no scheduled NPU calendar items for that. The next CDP meeting is the fourth quarter meeting. It'll be November 27th and 28th, and then we'll follow through with the City Council on December 4th. There are no scheduled NPU items on that. The next BZNA meeting is November 9th. There is no NPU items on that. Nor on the ZRB meeting, which is November 2nd. We do have the special administration permit meetings that are coming up. October the 25th, NPU does have one development that has popped up on this one that I have seen. It is a property located at 1211 McDonald Drive. This is for an apartment complex with commercial space. It's at the intersection of Milton and Lakewood Avenue. We also have, as Bob had mentioned, a lot of things come online. The Atlanta Housing Authority has started their process on the Inglewood site by removing trees and beginning their land disturbance permit. The Sawtell has started as well. The 510 Sawtell SAP, as far as the demolition goes, removing the existing buildings that are there. And so there is a lot going on in the neighborhood. I will say that hopefully we can have more conversations with City Council and a few other members in the ATL, DOT and GDOT regarding some infrastructure regarding with these particular sites. So are there any questions for the committee, the zoning committee?
We'll raise any questions at the end of our committee report.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone that wants to come and hear more about these projects when we have more time, which is our zoning meetings. It's once a month. It's the third Wednesday of each month.
Thank you. And I am dropping in the chat the two applications, which are for Sawtell, as those are commonly asked from our residents of whether or not there's movement on this development. So next we will have is our Parks, BeltLine, and Environmental, which is Rebecca Robinson. Dr. Robinson.
Good evening. I don't have any updates, but I think I should share the information about the Lakewood cleanup. I believe it's the last Saturday of the month from 8 to 10. Heather, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's the last Saturday of each month. We're going to shift to 9 to 11 now that it's getting colder. So it's October 28th, and we meet at the parking lot across from Lakewood Church of Hope. Everybody's welcome to join.
Thank you, Heather. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is our education, Monique Nunley.
Hello, everyone. I'm Monique. As I shared last month, we are looking for someone to lead this committee. Last month, the work that we did as a group was really lean into sharing public comment at Atlanta Public Schools board meetings, as well as the joint committee with the City of Atlanta, where we discussed the recently released information from Atlanta Public Schools, which is what they're going to do with their disposable properties or their assets. And so their asset management strategy is going to be able to do a ground lease of their building. So in our NPU, that is in the Pig Fair community, as well as in Lakewood Heights. So we have 2 units that'll be coming up. Once they disclose more information about the community engagement strategy, we'll know more, but we've been leaning into public comment with Atlanta Public School Board to share what we hope to see with their vacant facilities. Well, the other one is dilapidated. It's the former fire and rescue space. And so just so we're clear, Atlanta Public Schools will be doing a ground lease of these properties, not necessarily disposing of them outright. And so we will hope to learn more in weeks to come. And so we will make sure that we're sharing the information about community engagement so that we can have input that's authentic and from the community. So that way we'll have a stake in the game. And so that public comment and input is public on Atlanta Public Schools Facebook page, as well as we'll share out the correspondences we've been sharing with our Atlanta Public School Board as well, if we have not already done so, from our chair. And a cluster night, Carver Cluster Night, is on November 3rd on Friday at Lakewood Stadium. Please come out and celebrate with us. We're working on getting some t-shirts if you want to show your Carver pride in our NPU-Y. It'll be November 3rd at 8 o'clock. It's also senior night, and we want to show up and show out, as well as raise money for our athletic teams who are doing some really great work. And if you don't know, it's not always in the budget for our non-football and basketball teams to do other sports like volleyball and baseball and some of those other sports. So we would love to have some sponsors and support to support our local schools. So that's some of the stuff that we've been just working on in the community. If you want to be a part of any of that, whether it's the Atlanta Public School Board information about their asset properties and how to learn more about that, or if you want to support our athletic team at the high school level, that also trickles down to some of our students in the elementary and middle, we would love for you to be a part of it. I'll put my email in the chat, but there's a lot of information that we want you to be a part of. Even if you don't have school-age children, this impacts you.
Thank you so much. Next is our bylaws. I do not see Russell on the call. However, I will update that we have submitted our revised amended bylaws, which we voted on last month. And so we submitted those to DCP. Our bylaws are approved at the end of the year. So if the bylaws are approved as we submitted, we will know prior to January 1st, which is when they will take effect. Next is our Lakewood oversight. Do we have Yolanda on the call today? I do not see anybody for Lakewood oversight. Lakewood Finance Committee. Do we have anybody on for a report? This is not for your presentation though.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you.
This is Kanika Greenlee with Lakewood Oversight Committee. We just passed the deadline for our final grant submittal, which was October 1st. And the committee will be reviewing those grant applications this week. The next deadline will be January 1st.
Thank you. And I will call on you during our announcements to discuss a new replacement.
Okay.
Next we have is our ad hoc for committees, ad hoc for special projects.
Madam Chair, quick question to finance.
Can we hold the questions until after all committee reports are completed, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from Special Products Ad Hoc Committee? All right, as I see none, we did do our Unity Day, which was part of our ad hoc CIG 2023 grant that we received from the community, from the city. And so we are closing out that grant and doing our final closeout report, which includes our financing. We were actually able to raise close to the amount that the city donated to NPU-Y. Next I have is Troy Nunley with special nominations.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Troy Nelly. I'm the Special Nominations Chairperson. In our November 23 General Body meeting, we are doing our elections for NPU-Y. We believe that NPU-Y starts with great leadership. And so we're looking for people who are interested in serving on our board. So if you are interested, please reach out to me via text. I sent my SMS number in the chat. Also reach out to me via email if you wish to serve as a NPU-Y executive board. Also, I also put in the rules to serve as a NPU-Y nominations board. You have to have attended 4 meetings out of the last calendar month and be a primary resident in NPU-Y. You also would need to be, of course, above 18 years of age. So if you would, please reach out to us. We really need the service of the community. A great community starts with great leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for any of our committees? Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, I know you had your hand raised.
Yeah. Just wanted to ask the Finance Committee, because there was some word on the curb, so to speak, that the contract or the payments from the group that runs it had not come forward, which led many to think maybe we're in jeopardy, that the grants might not be available. I don't know, that's just kind of scuttlebutt, but in times past, we would oftentimes get a written report of the applicants that were granted, and we would also get kind of the fees that were being incurred from the holding company. Just kind of a, a little more of a basis, especially with the word on the curb kind of gossip that maybe we're running out of money if there was any ability to see any more into it.
So yes, we were having some challenges getting the payments from Live Nation, but that has since been resolved. So the payment was picked up last week, and I can make sure that in future committee reports, we provide a list of the grantees and funds balance.
Thank you. We would definitely like some better reporting in our NPU meetings, so that way we can share that information with our general body when it comes to any sort of monthly updates. Jacob Mills, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I did forget one thing. It was in my emails. It was we do have a CRC meeting that is the next meeting is scheduled for October the 27th, but at the following meeting, November the 15th, there is a applicant for MSD 23016. This is located at 502 Casanova. It looks as if it's 2 large lots, and the CRC is looking at this application as a subdivision application. So I just wanted to add that in there as well.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments for our committees? All right, as I see none, thank you so much. Thank you to all the hard work that our committees do. We appreciate you. Next on our agenda is going to be a report from APAB. I have Gloria Hawkins-Wynn is our representative, our delegate, and we also have Heather Graybill, which is our secondary delegate.
Essentially, Madam Chair, there is no report. We are in the process of refining our bylaws. I think you may have recalled earlier this year, unlike in any times in the past, that the representative from the NPUs had to be forwarded by, I think, January to APAB. And it was in an effort to come into compliance with the city ordinance that only authorizes 25 voting members, where somehow in our bylaws, we'd expanded the membership to 75 based on delegates and alternates. So that has been, that amongst other things have been causing us to refine our bylaws. Overwhelmingly, our mission is that of policy, of submitting resolutions and policies that we propose to the city in dealing with any number of issues from zoning, primarily I would even say zoning. And those resolutions are forwarded from APAB to council and to the clerk's office. We have had trouble in times past, I don't know, both in filing as well as having those resolutions in any meaningful way go forward such that we get a yay or nay. But all of that is a work in progress, and we feel like we're moving forward towards accomplishing the mandate of the Atlanta Planning and Advisory Board.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for APAB? All right, as I see none, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Next on our agenda is going to be our voting matters. So today we do have voting matters. This is a LRB application for a change of ownership. That's an alcohol license application to sell beer and wine at the BP Food Mart at 100 Lakewood Way. Do I have Aman on the phone, on the call? Or Dana Farkas, I see you on here.
Yes, I am there. Hello, good evening, everyone.
You have the floor. You do have 2 minutes to present.
Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. This is Aman. We have applied for the change in ownership for the alcohol license. As you know, we already have the license, and we are going on with all the regulations which the city has. And we would really appreciate if we can go ahead and have the license on our name. If anyone have any questions for me, I would be happy to help you.
Yes, so if there are any questions, please raise your hand. I do have a couple points to ask. We would like to know, previously when you asked for a liquor license, we had requested that you participate in the VIC program. You had requested or mentioned that it was being in the works. However, we have not received any sort of update from your business or from the community if there has been any VIC program involvement with APD.
What program are you talking about?
This is the VIC program. So this is the camera integration system that allows APD to have access to your cameras.
Yes, I can absolutely address that. Yes, when we did the previous change of ownership, it was not Aman, so he was not involved in that. But when we were here last year doing the change and y'all asked for us to do that, I went to Gas Express, the corporate office. They purchased the piece of equipment that is supposed to be the connector to the cameras and the feed for APD so they can record things, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't work with the system that's currently in place. And now APD, or the city council, has got this new ordinance that's in the works that's going to be a camera requirement that's a certain quality, that it requires 30 days. So it's going to require a new system to be put in place. The system that's there now does not do what they want it to do. And it couldn't hook up to that piece of equipment, which was about $350 for the cost of that piece of equipment. And then it wouldn't work. They couldn't make it happen. So that's where we are.
Okay, so are there plans to be participating in the VIC program?
There's plans to change the camera system to meet the ordinance. And that is, I was reading the ordinance again today, and the requirement will be that it meets all these requirements. And then if something happens, or if the clerk suspects there's a crime happen, they're supposed to call APD, and APD can take the video right then. So that's what's going to be happening. So trying to hook up with that piece of equipment that doesn't work is kind of pointless at this point. So we've got to change the whole system. And the new system requires that there be dedicated cameras to the pumps as well as certain places. So it's not just a camera system. It has specifics.
Okay, I do have hands raised. Gloria Hawkinwin, do you have the floor?
Yeah, hey Dana.
Hey.
How are you? The way you described it is a little different from the way that many of us understand it. It is not that the entity calls. With average citizens, my understanding is it is calling the citizen and seeing whether the citizen gives right to release the footage. My understanding is the commercial establishments the request is very different. The request is that the entity, that APD has real-time access to the system versus just being registered to make a call. Do you understand that differently?
I'm talking about the new ordinance that they're requiring, not the current system that they've got going on. The new system, let me, I tried to pull it up so I could read it to you, is going to require, it's not going to let me. Because I knew you were going to ask this today, so I wanted to be sure so that I could tell you. They should be required to install a continuous video system dedicated to each fuel pump. The cameras must be capable of producing a retrievable and identifiable image or film or tape that can be made into a permanent record and that can be enlarged for other means. Cameras meeting the requirements shall be maintained in proper working order at all times and shall be operating during all hours that the establishment is opened. Let's see, where did I read the part about calling? If a crime occurs or an employee believes a crime has occurred, the police department shall be contacted immediately and the film retrieved by a designated police officer. So that's what the new ordinance requires, but it's not in effect yet.
And that's new. How's that different from how's that different? What are you giving me that's different that makes it new?
You said, well, I mean, this is a new ordinance. The other one was a volunteer thing that you could sign up to be part of the police video system. And like I said, our equipment doesn't match up with the equipment that requires that. So when this new ordinance is enacted, all of the gas stations have to have certain quality of video that records for a certain amount of time that can be, and they also have to have a backup system in case it fails. And then if a crime occurs or they believe one, they call the police and the police will come and retrieve the video. You said a minute ago that they had to have permission from somebody to get the video, but that's not what this ordinance, how I read this ordinance. There's nothing about permission from anybody. If they're recording the activities at the pump and the clerk thinks that somebody, say, drove off without paying for gas, then they immediately call the police and say, I think somebody drove off without paying for gas, come and get the video. And then whoever that job is, that's the designated police officer, will come there and get the video and do whatever needs to be done.
No, Dana, I'm sorry, I haven't read the recent order, but the nature of the acronym, it's called the Video Integrated System, Video Integrated Center. Again, I'm not sure what you're reading it from, but I think you're missing or not looking at the totality of the ordinance that applies. My understanding is citizens, it's a very different requirement with citizens. They can register and then the citizen can agree or not to agree to deliver the footage. My understanding is the city is enacting a very different approach towards commercial entities whereby the public is invited. And my understanding is the integration is that the APD can have direct hands-on, direct entry into the system to look rather than someone from the store or the retail business calling and saying we can make it available. But we can revisit that. You know,
let's do, because I think we're talking about two different things. The current thing that's a voluntary system where anybody can hook up their camera, a Ring camera, or a business person or company can order this piece of, there's two things. One that's just free that you say you're registered and then the police can contact you. The other one is you pay for this piece of equipment that hooks the system up where they can retrieve the video. That system doesn't work with what is installed in the store. We've tried it. It didn't work. We agreed to do it last year, and it's impossible with the way the equipment works. In the meantime of learning that, that's when I heard that the city council, they've enacted this, or I don't know what the right terminology is. They've come up with this ordinance and they voted on it. It's in some sort of a review process or a voting process. So it hasn't become law yet, but it's going to be, obviously. So the requirement of that is that they have all these particular kinds of video. It has to be a certain quality, has to be pointed at certain things, and has to record for a certain amount of time. I believe it's 30 days that it has to have a recording capability. Not just, most stores now only have a couple days or 5 days at the most, but I think it's more like 2 or 3 with the old kind of systems. So this is what my client is going to have to do, is get this type of camera system, and it's going to mean changing the whole system, because what's there now is too old and doesn't match up with the ordinance, the proposed ordinance.
So, Madam Chair, last question. So since we saw you over a year and a half ago, there's been no integrated camera system operating at that location?
No, because it won't work. We bought the equipment and they came out and they tried to fix it, and it will not. The two don't match.
Okay.
And I had major conversations with them because I knew I was going to be back here with you with this new application, because I'm like, we promised we would do it. And they're like, we bought it, we hooked it up, it doesn't work. We can't make it work. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place in that one.
Lastly, Dana, because of the time period in which NPU received this application, there's been no ability to speak with APD and get the history there to see what criminal activity, what has been reported. So we're kind of at a disadvantage, both on hearing that the camera system has not been integrated since over 18 months ago, however long this prior applicant. And secondly, we've not had the opportunity to see what the criminal complaints have been and all of those are compelling issues in a community making a decision as to what's in its best interest.
I'm sure if there was a major criminal activity going on there, APD would not have processed the application forward. And also, hang on, let me double check one thing before I speak.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean when you say major, just continuous activity, whether it's petty or not, it jeopardizes the best interest of the community. So I'm not really sure what you mean when you say that.
Yeah, we have requested a temporary alcohol license at this location. And when the way that they're now processing the temporary applications is, before it goes anywhere, they go pull the criminal background of the location. And if there's a problem, they contact me, because I had a different location that the sergeant emailed me and said, you asked for a temporary license and there's been a homicide at this location. And I was like, what? And so I went to my client to find out about that. And that was something that had happened like 2 years prior. And the sergeant asked what had this client done to improve the location. I gave him a list of things they'd done. And he was like, okay, fine, I'm okay with that. And he moved the license forward. This location has asked for a temporary application, and it's been a few weeks since it was processed. So if there was a problem, I would have already heard about it, because they would not process the temporary license if there was crime going on there that would prevent it. Because that's one of the things about the temporary, is if you've got issues, you don't get a temporary.
Madam Chair, it's not actually correct.
Victoria Hawkins, I apologize. If we can move on to a couple other questions and we can circle back if you'd like to raise your hand again. Zachary Murray, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak as chair of Lakewood Heights Community Association.
Yes, I do apologize. You do have the floor as a community.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we did not get an opportunity to meet with the newest applicant, and I think that would have been really valuable, considering some of the concerns that Gloria brought up. There were also some concerns about cleanliness. My impression is that there's been some progress on the cleanliness of the station, but yeah, it would have been nice as a community to have met with the applicant, Mr. Doridia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. so that you could get to know folks and folks could express some of their concerns about the location if there were any, in addition to the surveillance thing. I personally do understand, because I know that Councilman Lewis is introducing the legislation regarding the gas station video cameras, and it probably makes best sense to wait if that's going to be mandatory. So that's understandable to me. But again, it would be great to connect with folks in the Lakewood Heights community when you have some availability to do so.
And we're happy to come and meet with you, and get involved in all that. It's just, we didn't get the notice to appear before you till like 2 weeks ago, 12 days ago. So there was no time. And with it being the end of the year, and y'all just said next month you're voting on all of your officers and stuff. So there's just no time to really defer and wait and go, because we're at the end of the year. It's in the renewal time, and we're going to wind up not having a license. So I'm hoping that you'll accept the camera explanation. And I have the proposed ordinance here that I can absolutely share with you. And because I don't know how city council works and how those kind of things do. I don't know what the process is, but every time I look it up, it says it's in the works, but it hasn't been enacted yet. Because in fact, on the application process, there's 2 new questions on there asking, do you have the system? And I forgot the other question, but it has 2 things to do with the cameras. But the answers are NA right now because it doesn't apply, and we don't have it. But obviously all the gas stations are going to have them. So this is going to be a huge expense, but it's going to be a good thing. I'm actually happy about it, because half the time the cameras don't work, or the quality is so bad you could just tell it's a person. Can't tell what kind of person or anything else to hunt them down. So I think this is a good thing. And you're right, we were caught between trying to comply with your request and then finding out about this new proposed ordinance. And it's like, we can't keep spending money on something that's not working to go do it all over again for this new system. So
I grant that, certainly. I think maybe if the applicant is willing to share contact information so that folks in the neighborhood could reach out a bit more proactively.
Absolutely.
Be helpful. I don't speak for the entire neighborhood about the concerns with the big system. I understand what you're talking about in terms of any adjustments with mandatory cameras and things like that. But there were some other concerns that were brought up regarding the station, in addition to crime, that I think would be helpful. For
the cleaning up of the property, and I think that's been done. I haven't been out there, but because I was looking back at my old notes from the other one, and it was cleanliness, and the camera thing was a big deal. Yeah. Which obviously I agree with that.
Troy Nunnally, you may have the floor, and then I would like to have the floor for a moment.
Yeah, I just want to circle back on the VIC system. So you all said that you all would integrate a new system because of the ordinance. Could you just purchase the system in such a way where it will integrate with the old component that you purchased and just integrate into VIC?
I don't know the answer to that, because I'm not an IT person or a camera person. I know that the IT person with Gas Express said that the current system there would not work with the integrated piece of equipment that they purchased. I have not had the opportunity to go full deep into detail about the new system, what the requirements are with the current tenant, to see what's going to have to be done, because it's not yet here. This is fluid, and I don't have enough information yet to really answer that question. But I'm pretty sure if the old system wouldn't fit with that piece of equipment, we need to wait and make sure we purchase the right system.
Yeah,
it's going to meet the ordinance, but without doing something now, not knowing what we're supposed to do exactly that matches the integration system, to find out that we needed to do something completely different. I mean, these video systems are not cheap.
I'm gonna rephrase. Could you consider purchasing a system that integrates with VIC when you do the new system?
Oh, I'm betting that the new system is going to have that capability. Yes. I mean, whatever the ordinance requires us to do, we're going to do, and dollars to donuts, it's probably going to be where it can match up to that system. We want to do everything that we can to help prevent crime, to give the police all the tools that they can have. We have no objection to that. We just don't know what the specifics of the requirements are, other than it's a requirement that it record and have good quality. I don't know if they're going to require a certain system or what the specifics of that are. I'm happy to come back to you and tell you once we figure this out, what the system is. And yes, it will do that, or no, it won't do that, or it's going to cause this issue or whatever. I just don't have the answer to that right now. But we do want to be connected to the police, whichever way we're required and or can do. But right now, the system and the equipment don't match. So I don't know if that's happened to more people. I'm guessing so, because most of the convenience stores have been around for a while and their video systems have been around for a while. And, you know, I haven't talked to anybody that's actually purchased this connector thing that's worked. I've only had this one time that I've been involved with it.
Thank you, Troy. Yeah, so one of our concerns, as you stated, you submitted your application months ago. However, you just received your notice to come here within the last 2 weeks. We actually did not receive your notice until Monday that you were coming to this meeting. So until last Monday, I apologize. So we had 1 week's notice, which does not give us enough time to schedule anything with our community, which is Lakewood Heights, to allow them to have you at their monthly meetings. While you're on here, we will have time next month if we are able to do any sort of voting matter. Then I would like to ask if you would voluntarily defer this month, so that way we could have you guys present at the Lakewood Heights and really hear those concerns, because they are an issue that it's been 18 months without a VIC program integrated or any update to the community.
We just don't have time to do that. We're happy to meet with them outside of the NPU and do all this, but we don't have the time frame to defer and meet and defer and not get the license in time. It's just not possible. And I mean, we want to meet with the neighborhood. That's not a problem, but we don't have the calendar days to defer and then still get our license by January and get on the NPU, the LRB, and get everything done in the timely manner. And, you know, do they not send y'all the notice to appear the same day they send it to us?
I do not know when you received it. So we'll move on to next question. Zach, you still have your hand raised. Do you still have an additional question, Zach Murray?
Yeah, I just, thank you for asking about the voluntary motion to defer. I mean, I think it's really important in this kind of setting that the new owner does meet with the community. That is just baseline, and I understand there may have been some complications, but I would like to make a motion to defer because that's a really important first step. Is to get to Lakewood Heights community.
Yep. So unfortunately for LRBs, we are not allowed to motion to defer. We are only able to vote in support, not support, or to have an abstention of support, which would basically just nullify any sort of community involvement up till this point as to having a voice on this matter. So unfortunately with an LRB, because of its legal standings with EPD, we cannot defer on our basis. It has to be voluntary.
Well, I just would reverse the motion and make a motion to abstain if that's okay, accepted.
So before we move on, just to everybody could understand that would essentially saying that we have no voice on the matter. We do not care whether or not this moves forward. We do not support, but we do not deny. So a motion to abstain would limit our voice moving forward if there was any sort of issue or additional involvement that we'd like to have on this application.
Now, does that come across as a consent agenda or a denial? Because the LRB looks at it as either approval or denial. I don't know how they handle a no opinion.
It is essentially that there is no vote on the matter. So it does not have weight either way. I will give a moment.
You're not understanding my question, because it goes to the License Review Board either on the consent agenda as an approval by the NPU, or it goes on as a denial by the NPU. Those are the two choices that the License Review Board hears them. So if you don't do anything, how does that present to the License Review Board?
As I said, it goes through as an abstention. It is as if we did not have a say in the matter at all. We choose not to have a say in the matter. I'm not sure how to clarify that any better as to how it goes on their paperwork. But from my understanding from DCP and from our APD is that we are able to abstain from any of the matter. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yeah, quickly, Dana, isn't Mr. Amon operating under a temporary license currently?
No, we don't have it. We've applied for it. He's operating under the current license. He's just running the store under the current license for HTH.
Well, my question is, if he's able to operate under the current license, is there some expiration or something vis-a-vis him and the prior owner? Why is he
Yes,
not?
the current license expires at the end of the year in December, and we don't have our temporary license yet.
So I ask you.
Hold on one moment. If everybody else can mute that does not have the floor, please.
So Dana, my misunderstanding that at the time an individual applies for a license that they are concurrently
When people ask for
Suzanne Otis, do you mind muting yourself as you do not have the floor at the moment?
Sorry.
That's okay.
My understanding is that
my God, didn't even know I was.
my understanding is at the time that the applicant applies for a license, that they concurrently are granted a temporary license. Is that not correct?
That is not correct. You file for your new application and you file for a temporary at the same time. You can't ask for a temporary unless you do submit for a permanent, but the temporary has to go through the chain of command before it's granted. Before the new people took over APD, it used to take 10 days for that to happen. It's now taking about 4 weeks for that to happen. And then, so we don't have it yet. We're still under the or the HTH licenses, which expire December 31st.
But the temporary license is pending, is that correct? You just stated what I understood. So
it's pending, but we don't have it. It hasn't been granted. It could still be denied.
It could be denied, but you've got another 60 days. Is that correct before it's granted?
No, it's in the process. It's going down the chain of command now.
Yes.
It could be granted tomorrow. It could be 2 or 3 more weeks. I don't know when it could be. It could also be denied. Until I have it in my hands, I don't know whether the chief decided to grant it or not, because there's like 6 or 8 people that look at this application before they approve of it.
I think the reason we're asking you in good faith to return, because it sounds like under everything you just said, there is still another 30 days that a temporary has been applied for concurrent with the permanent, but you're still until December 31 under the license of the current operator. Is that correct? So it just seems like there is at least a 30-day fudge. No, based on what you've just explained. That's what all we're asking you, Dana, in good faith, is that you give us an opportunity to meet with Mr. Armand and to discuss our concerns. And we're a re-emerging community inundated with convenience stores, probably unlike any other community in the 10 communities of the NPU. In good faith, all we're asking, since you can continue to operate for another 60 days, that you come back in November. I don't seem like that's not being too onerous, and that you do have that 60-day window.
Okay, so y'all have had the notice that we were going to be here. You've let me sit through this 2-hour meeting, and then you want us to come back again and sit through another meeting and then another 2-hour meeting. When we meet all the requirements and we're willing to come and meet with the Lakewood community anytime you want us to, I just don't want to delay this process any further, because there's other meetings to attend, and I just I would really like to have y'all support tonight, and we can come and meet with Lakewood. Y'all can come to the store. We're happy to do whatever you'd like us to do, except delay our process.
Understood. We do have a few other hands raised, so if we can get through these hands, Tony or Troy Nunley, you have the floor.
Real quick. So I think you do have time. So Nicole has said that she's willing to put on the next agenda, regardless of the elections. And the current license expires at the end of the year, so you have more than essentially 75 days. to be able to have consultation with us, and we can make a vote at the November, well before the awarding of, and get it onto the agenda before the end of the year. Danny, you have been as attended these NPU meetings at least for the last 4 years that I know of, and has presented multiple times. So I think you,
Like
at this
14
point,
years.
at least while Nicole's been chair and while I've been chair, which has been at least 3 years. And you understand the processes that we usually go through, where you talk to the neighborhoods first before entering the NPU. So this is not unexpected for you probably. So my thought is, could we just push it to the beginning of the agenda on November if Nicole so chooses, so that you don't have to do the wait in the beginning of the agenda in NPU meeting?
That would be nice, because we've already been here 2 hours, and I'm sure the Lakewood meeting is going to take an hour, and then we'll have to come back here for another 2 hours. And, you know, believe it or not, I have a lot of applications that I work on, and these night meetings are tough. And when we're not required to go to them, it makes it tougher. And, you know, we want to cooperate and we want to get your vote. But again, you know, y'all said you were doing your elections, which made me think of a 3 or 4 hour NPU next month.
Yeah, we are quite efficient with our elections, and they usually take 30 to 45 minutes. So it's not much different than any other meeting. We just make sure that we balance them quite well. So if that is something you are willing and able to do, we can certainly make sure that we put it near the top of the agenda. We still have to do our city officials, or sorry, city departments first, unfortunately, because that is part of our system, but I can see about if we can work that in to get it a little bit quicker than that for you.
When does Lakewood Heights meet?
Zach Murray, would you be able to share that information?
Second Monday monthly.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. And I also want to say, like, we're worth the wait. If your client needs to call you when the meeting is happening, that maybe needs to be what happens, but it's important for him to know the context of what's happening in the neighborhood. So frankly, I'm just finding your commentary tonight a bit disappointing, and it makes me actually want to make a motion to just outright deny, because it's important that folks that are doing business in our community really value the community, and I'm just not feeling that tonight.
So the Lakewood meeting is November 14th. When is the NPU meeting?
Ours is on the 3rd. So on the 3rd Monday. So that would be
the 21st, which is Thanksgiving
20th.
week. Are y'all meeting that week?
That will be on the 20th.
Oh, on Monday. Okay. Still Thanksgiving week. Are y'all meeting then?
Yes, we do. We will be here on Zoom.
All right. I mean, I don't want you to deny the application. I don't think it's right that we have to do this, but I understand. You know,
we do.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 14 years, not just 4, but 14, long time. And, you know,
we do greatly appreciate you voluntarily deferring and allowing this to go to the community prior to a vote here at the NPU level. You know, like, as Troy mentioned, you know, we have worked with you before, and we hope that this just shows how we do like to have our community input with our applicants. So as things do come forward, you know, that we can get that process established with you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it, and we'll make sure that we get that information sent over to you. We do have a couple other hands raised. I just want to make sure if anybody has questions prior to moving forward. Troy Nunley, do you still have your hand raised to speak? Zach Murray, do you still have your hand raised to speak at this time? Omar Ali, do you still have your hand raised to speak at this time?
Nope, I'm a Lord. Zach said what I was going to say.
All right, thank you so much, Dana Farkas. I do appreciate it, and we will touch base here in the next few days to make sure that this is lined up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening. All right, next on our agenda then, this is something with LRBs that, just to clarify some information on here, LRBs are not able to be deferred. They are the only application that comes through that is a voting matter that we cannot defer, and it does have to go as a voluntary process. We do reach out to these applicants. However, I did not receive anything back from them when I reached out end of last week, which we did not have a lot of leeway on this application for some reason. So hopefully we can get this, a lot of information shared with our community, because we do want to know what's going on with the, those applications and those businesses by the people that live near them and operate near them. So next up is going to be our, give me one moment, let me just scroll through here real quick. We have old business, which we do not have any, and new business. I do see a couple hands raised. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair, just a point of order. I guess our site was down, our website was down for the last week or so. So someone called me and asked me for the link, and I gave them my link, and they're showing up as Gloria Hawkins. So a point of order, if we can get that person properly registered as a attendee tonight. I don't know who that is.
Absolutely. I believe that's what the name was in the chat, maybe. But we can discuss that afterwards, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Melody Ford, apologies, before I call anybody else to here, let me just switch to the next item, which is our announcements. So that way anybody is able to move forward on those. Melody Ford, you have the floor.
Quick question regarding the BP. I mean, she was on a rampage. I really felt like she was disrespectful. She needs to follow our process. Was there a way that we could have curtailed that so it didn't drag on?
We can certainly, we were trying to have a little bit of discussion there, but yes, we will certainly try to see how we can wrap that up a little quicker.
Yeah, I just didn't appreciate her attitude, honestly.
Madam Chair, may I add the legal?
Information.
We can't make her go to the Lakewood. That's
No, we
legally.
cannot. Correct. So, Jacob Mills, you have the floor.
I just wanted to, didn't we have a letter of support that needed to be voted on?
We are not to that portion of our agenda yet. Let me share the agenda on the screen for everybody.
Is that Friends of Chosewood Park?
We have a couple of them. We do need to move forward.
Gotcha. I didn't see the agenda. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have our announcements, a couple announcements real quick. We do have our nominations for elected officials, as Troy Nunnally did speak on. So that is going to be going on next month. So if there are any members that want to participate in our executive board, please send that email out to our executive board or our nominations committee, which is Troy Nunnally. We are also doing nominations for our LACFC board, and that is our Lakewood Finance Committee. Would you like to have the floor for a moment?
Yes, thank you. So many of you know Jimmy Moore. He was one of the representatives for NPU-Y for the Lakewood Finance Committee, and he is moving out of the NPU and I believe out of the city. So we are looking for a third member to represent NPU-Y on the Lakewood Finance Committee board. Lakewood Finance Committee represents 3 NPUs, NPU X, Y, and Z. Those funds for the grants come from the Live Nation Lakewood Amphitheater venue, and we review grant applications. We typically meet at least on a quarterly basis, but as of late, we've been meeting approximately every other month for about an hour and a half. So if you're interested, I'll drop my information in the chat and we can discuss further.
Thank you. We also are still looking for nominations for our education chair. So we have an education committee. Monique Nunley is passing the torch on, as she has been in that position for many years. So we would like to see if anybody wants to be involved in that education position. Are there any other announcements prior to going to our presentations? All right, as I see none, I would like to ask a motion to have 30 minutes added to the clock this evening, as we do have quite a few voting matters to go through in our presentations.
Madam Chair, motion to extend the meeting by, actually, we're scheduled to meet end at 9, right?
Yes, but we have 4 presentations.
Motion that we extend the meeting to 9:30. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I am asking that.
Second, Rebecca.
Are there any in opposition? I do see Monique's hand raised. I'm assuming that's not in opposition as it was raised prior. So are there any opposition at this moment? All right, motion carried and the meeting is extended to 9:30. Monique Nunley, you did have your hand raised. Do you need the floor?
Hi, I missed announcements. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say we're doing food access interviews. We get a chance to meet with Councilmember Winston, some of my students from my school. I teach at another high school, not in this particular area, but we're looking at food insecure communities. I'm asking for, 1 or 2 people who want to be interviewed by our students, as they'll be sharing this insight with our community and with Councilmember Winston, about a game plan for how we get food access in NPU-Y. As you may have known, we are about 3 years out from the Wendy's being burned down, with no community conversations about food in the nearby future. And so I'm wondering, what are those plans? And our students are working to better understand what food access looks like in our community, beyond just the ways in which we put together food pantries or mobile food experiences and things like that, but something a little bit more sustainable for our community. I would love to talk to a few community members, and have my students talk with them as they prepare a presentation for Councilmember Winston. So if you're interested, I'm gonna put my name in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we will move on to presentations. So as I stated, we do have 4 presentations, and I know we're cutting close on time, which is why we did extend. So I do apologize for the time that we are going over today. So when you do your presentation, you do have 3 minutes or less. So please keep to our time, and then we will have questions if there are any prior to any voting matter. Our first up is going to be Friends of Chosewood Park. This is a letter of support for a Park Atlanta application. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bobby Spiller. I'm the Vice President for the Friends of Chosewood Park. And yes, we are seeking a letter of support from NPU-Y for a $246,000 grant from Park Pride to complete phase 2 of the playground renovation in partnership with the City of Atlanta Department of Parks and Recreation. So in phase 1, the city will expend $250,000 to expand the existing playground footprint from, it's about 2,000 square feet currently. Or actually, no, excuse me. They're going to expand the existing playground by 2,000 square feet. It's currently 3,500 square feet. So it'll be a total of 5,500 square feet. Install a new rock wall and drainage, a part of a play set, and an embankment slide and swings. And then in phase 2, Friends of Chosewood Park will expend approximately $246,000 to install the remainder of the play set, orbit spinner, play structure, accessible music, and sorry, hold on one second, sorry. Accessible music, equipment, additional seating for parents, and a $96,000 event pavilion, which is going to be 24 by 24 shade structure with tongue and groove hardwood ceilings, stone columns at post, and metal cadavered roof atop 1,800 square feet concrete paving. So it's going to include a 32-foot custom concrete partially retaining seat wall and also 43 feet of metal handrail. So it's going to be similar to the size and scope of Lillian Cooper Shepherd Park Pavilion and Armand Park. So I have the concept that I can upload for you guys.
You are able to share your screen if you need to. Bobby, we are unable to hear you at this time, though. Bobby, you are now muted. So just in case she got kicked off or anything, we'll keep moving forward on this. So they are doing park renovations to improve the park, which is they do need a letter of support with Park Atlanta. I'm not sure if Bobby is able to answer any questions at this time, as she is muted. Would anybody like to motion? Yes, Tori Nunley, you have your hand raised.
Has it been approved by Chosewood?
Yes, it has been approved by, my apologies. I am not calling my communities this evening. This is the second time. I will call Jacob Mills to the floor instead of answering that question. It says Jacob Mills is the president for Chosewood Park Neighborhood Association. Jacob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Dr. Duntley, this was approved by unanimous consent from the Chosewood Park.
I'd like to solicit a motion for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second, Rebecca.
All right, let me get the poll up. Please remember you're voting on these. When you are voting, you must be 18 years or older, and you must be have a primary residence or be a business constituent. Pardon me. You do get one vote per person, and if you are a business constituent and a resident, it is still one vote. You also must have attended 3 meetings within the last 12 months. If you are not sure about your eligibility or are not eligible, just close the screen instead of clicking abstention. We will leave it open for, give it a couple more seconds, about 15 more seconds for anybody to get on here. If you do have more than one person that is on your call and you would like to vote, or you are ineligible to vote, as co-hosts are ineligible based on the poll, not ineligible, unable to, apologies. Please put your vote in the chat so that way we can count your vote. All right, almost everybody has voted at this time. We'll give it 5 more seconds and we'll close the poll.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I was able to vote because I'm the Gloria Hawkins that's showing up, not as the host, so.
Oh, got you. Well, let me take that co-host off. That's why it's all right. So we have closed the poll. At this time, we have 21 yes, 0 no's, and 1 abstention. I will share that with everybody on the screen. Is everybody able to see that in their screen? All right, so motion carries to approve a letter of support for Friends of Chosewood Park for a Park Atlanta grant. Thank you guys so much. All right, next up is going to be Levanta Residential LLC. This is with Carver Homeownership Redevelopment. This is their phase 1. This is a presentation only. There will be no voting matter. So please be aware of that. It is a 3-minute presentation max. So I do have Tayani. Are you on the call to present? I actually do not see them on the call at this moment. All right, we will move on. Next is Mercy House Southeast. This is the Renaissance at Park Place South, and this is for an Invest Atlanta application. This is a voting matter as well. James Talley.
Yes, and good afternoon. And first of all, 2 apologies. One is I'm pretty nasal, so if I start sneezing, please excuse me. And 2, Madam Chair, I owe you an apology. And just for benefit of the rest of the board members, Nicole did reach out to me via email and asked for a copy of the application that went to Invest Atlanta as relates to the bond request, both for the tax exempt bonds as well as the housing opportunity bonds. And I advised Nicole that that was done electronically, which it was. However, it does turn out that a copy of the applications are available. And so, Nicole, for that, I do apologize for that, as well as to the board. Please accept my apologies for that. But I can certainly make sure that you guys get copies of that application as we move forward. And so I just want to make sure that I put that out there in the public stratosphere, because she did do her job in asking. All right. As it relates to the business at hand, Renaissance at Park Place Park Place South is an existing 100 unit apartment home senior only community. It's 100% affordable, subsidized by Section 8 or Home Flex rents from Atlanta Housing. It's a singular building, 4 stories on approximately 6 acres with 154 parking spaces. It originally was placed in service in 2003, and the why for all of this is to keep the property affordable and to do some much needed interior refreshing of not only the common areas, but also the apartment homes themselves. And frankly speaking, the most affordable way to finance this rehab is through low-income housing tax credits and with tax-exempt bonds. And as Nicole said, that I am here asking for your support to move this forward through Invest Atlanta to get the bonds. But all of that really is contingent on us getting an allocation of low-income housing tax credits. We did submit an application for 4% tax credits. And as you all know, it's a highly, highly competitive process in the state of Georgia. And so while we feel pretty good about our position, certainly we're not guaranteed of getting awarded an allocation because it is a competitive process. And so, with that in mind, I would like to have the support of the neighborhood, and I would love to field any questions that you might have.
Do you have any questions from the floor? And also, do we have anybody here from our Park Place South that would like to represent the community, as Park Place South does not have a chairperson?
Hi, this is Kanika Greenlee again. I'm the Park Place South president for our condo association. As many of you know, Park Place South is a community that is derived of lofts, condos, single family homes, and townhomes. And so we do have a master association that was sent to them, but since they don't have a president, we did not get a true formal vote from the master association. But I did present it to the condo association board, and there were no concerns.
Thank you. Zach Murray, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Talley. I had a couple
Yes.
questions.
Sure.
I'm not looking at the agenda, but could you state the development entity that you're representing?
Sure. And I'm sorry, please forgive me for that. Yeah, I'm representing Mercy Housing Southeast as the owner of the property, and I'm the regional developer for real estate development for Mercy Housing Southeast.
Great. And I just had 2 more questions. Mercy,
Sure.
do you all provide the property management, or is that done by an external group?
We do provide the property management for this property.
Okay. And then the last question is, you said it was senior housing, and
yes,
and I was wondering if you could sort of give a breakdown, because a lot of us had the question of affordable for whom. So it's great that it's senior, but the question I have is, what are the sort of AMI targets, and what percentage of the units are occupied either by the Section 8 or Home Flex vouchers?
Both great questions, Zach. First of all, it is 60% AMI or lower. And as it relates to how many are occupied by the Home Flex vouchers, 100%. 100% of the community is supported by the Home Flex vouchers. As it stands right now, the property is not 100% leased up. There were a couple of issues that took place, one of which took just about a year to correct. There were some water intrusion issues that were inherent with the building when it was built some 20 years ago. Mercy Housing Southeast, or Mercy Housing, injected almost $4 million in taking the skin off the building, taking corrective measures, and then putting it back up. Excuse me. And so we are invested in this. We're not, fly-by-night developers where we come in and bring it in as affordable housing, and then as soon as the compliance period is up, we disappear. That's not what we do. We are one of the largest, if not the largest, developers, owners, and operators of affordable housing in the country. So that is our mission.
Thank you. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yeah, let me make sure I understand. This is the senior high rise that's located right there at, what is it, Pryor, and right there on that corner that you can
It's
see.
a 240 a mall, south drive southwest.
Okay, am I understanding that this investment is for upgrades and not expanding the size of the location? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. As you can see here on the screen, it's for a resyndication and a rehab, and the rehab would be contained to the interior of the building. And as you can see, we've requested close to $11 million in tax-exempt bonds as a loan, with an additional $1.5 million in housing opportunity bonds. And I'm sorry, my voice is starting to go. In housing opportunity bonds, and that would be coupled with low-income housing tax credits and potentially private debt if needed. And again, Gloria, all this is contingent on us getting awarded an allocation from Georgia Department of Community Affairs.
So last question is,
of course,
in this renovation or
Yes,
this
ma'am.
upgrade, tenants will be moved out or displaced. Is that correct?
Well, as it stands right now, they will not be displaced. And the reason for that, Gloria, is that we do have down units that, as I stated a few moments ago, that it is not 100% leased. Two things happened. There was the skin situation where we had water intrusion, but also during the great freeze a few months ago, this past winter, pipes burst, and several units that had been placed back online are now offline again while we go through that corrective actions with the insurance company. And so, Gloria, as it stands right now, we've chosen not to lease those units such that once we get ready to start the rehab, we can keep people on the site without inconveniencing them any more than they already will be as we go into their units. And so all relocation would take place on site.
Thank you.
But that's a good question. Thank you for that question.
Have the floor. Brian Nunley?
Oh, motion to approve. Letter of recommendation. Motion to
Second.
approve letter of recommendation.
Second, Gloria Hawkins. Wayne.
All right, do you have any other questions before we carry out a motion to approve the letter of recommendation for the, this is for Invest Atlanta tax exempt bond and housing opportunity bond?
Madam Chair, just like to say that it's really good to hear that residents who are currently there feel like the building has operated in good faith and that it's been good neighbors. So that is the most reassuring part of this whole, for me.
Absolutely, that answered any question I had after there. All right, as I see none, let me go ahead and get the poll up for us. Again, voting matters. So if you are not eligible to vote, please close out the window. Give me one moment here. It's not letting me launch the poll. There we go. All right, your motion is to support a letter of support. So this is yes to support, no not to support. And this is Invest Atlanta application, which thank you, Paul McMurray did share the application in our chat for us, so that way we could review it personally as well. I do have to say that it is great to hear that they will be have the option to stay in-house while they'll still have to move into a new unit to not be forced to move outside of their area of which they're used to living in.
Absolutely. We're very conscientious of that.
We'll leave the poll open for 15 more seconds. Again, if you are unable to vote for any reason or you have more than one person on your call, please put it in the chat so we can count your vote. All right, we are closing the poll. So the poll at this time is 20 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstentions. So that is a unanimous approval for the letter of support to Mercy House Southeast, and it is their Renaissance at Park Place South.
Thank you all very much, and I will keep the NPU apprised as things develop once we hear back from DCA with the pre-app. So thank you all very much.
Absolutely. And if there's any additional information as to where this needs to be sent outside of our standard Invest Atlanta, please get in contact with me and we'll make sure that we have that sent out properly.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Next we have is equity in education. So this is Amani Collins. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, again, thank you for having me. I am Imani Collins. I am a teacher at Carver STEAM Academy under Purpose Built Schools. And I am also the District 1 captain with Equity in Education. For those of you who may not be familiar with Equity in Education, it is fairly new, but it is an Atlanta-based nonprofit that works to ensure that every child has access to a high-quality education. So we've been working really, really hard this season, especially because it's election time for our APS board. So the voter registration deadline has already passed. That was October 10th, but early voting has started today. I went out and voted. I hope you all get to vote hopefully soon. The lines were super, super short. But the early voting period does include Saturdays and Sundays, October 16th through November 3rd. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 27th, so that's coming up soon. And then, of course, we know Election Day is November 7th. I will share the links to these QR codes in the chat. But this is just a QR code you can scan if you would like to make a pledge saying that you are going to vote in this election for our students. Super, super important. And then lastly, I will be out canvassing this weekend with Equity in Education. If anyone is interested in getting out into the neighborhoods and canvassing, just informing the community on what is going on with this current election for our APS board, you can scan this QR code here. And again, I will put the link in for this one as well. And that is all I have. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you having a presentation for us to look at. Visuals are wonderful. Do we have any questions for Imani Collins? Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yeah, Imani says she's the district. Can you describe what your role is and who you are exactly, Imani? Do you mind?
Yes, I absolutely can. So we have 7 different district captains for Equity in Education. So what we do essentially is we've just been informing the community on the current election. That's pretty much it. So just canvassing, getting out into the community, hosting different events. We recently had our debate for candidates whose seats were up, and our new candidates coming in as well. That was like maybe 3 weeks ago or so. So it's really just informing the community on this election. Most of us who are district captains are teachers in our respective districts.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar Ali, you have the floor.
Yes, Imani, it's good to see you and hear from you again. I just wanted to it's more of a statement than a question. Equity in Education partnered with us to bring the debate to Lakewood and NPU-Y. They had a lot of other options to place the debate, but they decided to bring it to the south side of Atlanta. And so I just wanted to make it known that the debate that she is speaking about was actually held at the Ali building about 3 weeks ago. And so great resource and great organization.
Thank you. Kimberly Brooks, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, I want to get clarification on something. Were you guys, did you guys do a presentation, I think probably earlier last year, for the Leadership Academy for Atlanta Public Schools for individuals interested in running for office last year? Because I didn't make the association, and you guys are a separate entity, if I'm not correct. Is that correct? Or do you recall?
Yes, that is correct. I just recently joined Equity in Education in July, so I wasn't there when they did the Leadership Academy, but I do know about it. So yes, they did lead that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there is a question in the chat. This is asking, Amani, what do you do once the election is over in your position?
Yeah, so we don't really part ways, so to speak, with EIE. We do still kind of stick around and just help with other, important factors when it comes to education in our city. But as far as any election stuff, that's over with once the election is up on November 7th.
Thank you. And that was what I was going to ask, if you could share that deadline date again with us. So November 7th?
Yes, that is correct.
And can you please tell people the way to vote, best way to vote?
Yeah, absolutely. So in person voting, of course, you can always obtain an absentee ballot. Again, that date was October 27th, the deadline for an absentee ballot. But in-person voting, I can share the link for you all on georgia.gov. And as long as you put in your information correctly, your address and everything, it'll show you exactly where the precincts are for you to vote during early voting time, what times, from what times they're open and closed, as well as on election day. I am pretty sure that all precincts are going to be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November 7th. Early voting can be a little different. It may be 7 to 7, but it really just depends on your polling location.
Thank you. And there is a portion in our announcements about polling locations. So are there any other questions at this time for Imani Collins and with our education elections? All right, as I see none, we will be able to move on. Thank you so much, Imani. I do appreciate you being on the call and sharing that information. It is
Thank you all.
Very important that we get out and we have a voice about our community, especially about our education board, how this not only affects our youth that are in schools currently, but future youth. So if you're looking to have children or they will be in our school system soon, please get involved in at least having that voting matter.
Yes, thank you all so much for allowing me to present tonight.
Thank you. Gloria Hawkins-Wynn, you have the floor.
Yeah, ma'am, I just wanted to encourage folks to vote. My understanding is this, turnout is deemed to be very little, based on the fact that this is kind of an this is a one-off, meaning I believe it's the board alone that is up for election. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. So there you are. We'll see what happens, right?
All right, thank you. So a couple announcements before our planner's report comes over. As discussed, there are officer elections. So I know that we brought this up a couple times. Let me switch the screen here for you. But we are going to, I just want to share this on the screen for everybody. These are our current bylaws. Part of our bylaws in our elections, and just want to read this part out to everybody. So there are 7 positions, that is your chairperson, vice chair, secretary, assistant secretary for membership and communication, treasurer, parliamentarian, and sergeant at arms. So each of these positions, you must be a resident, you must be a voting member, and that is through our standard eligibility for voting. However, with elected officers, you must attend 4 meetings during 12 months. So in order to run as an officer, the November meeting must be your 4th meeting. There will be a attendance sheet that is shared with everybody, which will show how many meetings as of October you will be on. So please be aware that if it says 3 or if it says 4, that may change based on when your first meeting was. So if you're on 3 and your first meeting was last November of last year, you would still stay at 3. So if you do have questions about your eligibility, or if you feel that there is inaccuracy on the sheet of whether you are eligible to vote or eligible to run as an officer, please reach out to us so we can make sure to clarify any missed information on this, because we do get our attendance records from the participation sheet, which is through Zoom. So if you do have multiple people on your call, or if it kicks you out or have different names that are logged in, we are unable to make sure that that is accurate to your attendance. So we have no more presentations. So hopefully we will be done here in just a moment. Our planners today is Aaron. He is filling in for Elizabeth Clapham. Aaron, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Aaron Borngraber. I'm an urban planner 3 with the Department of City Planning, Office of Design, Historic Preservation Studio. That's fairly long. So, but I work with Elizabeth directly. So Elizabeth is on vacation, so I'm filling in for her. So I just have the report to read. I'll try to be quick because I'm sure everyone wants to go to bed or get ready for bed by now. So the City of Atlanta's annual Historic Preservation Week 2023 will take place from October 23rd to 26th. The theme is Equity and Inclusion, the Narrative of Knowing. So visit the Future Places Project website for a listing of activities. Atlanta BeltLine, Inc., Invest Atlanta, and the City of Atlanta invite you to take part in a citywide business survey that will benefit Atlanta business owners and economic development. To participate in the survey, please visit altbizsurvey.com. That's ATLBIZSURVELVEY, my apologies.com. Next is the Atlanta Urban Design Commission has nominated the Fulton County World War I Memorial in Pershing Point Park for protection under the city's historic preservation ordinance. The nomination will be reviewed by the Zoning Review Board and City Council for designation as a landmark site in the coming months. Visit the city's website and the Future Places Project website for more information on historic preservation programming. Earlier this month, the Department of City Planning finished our Corner Conversation series for the year. The series will return in April of 2024. NPU University classes coming in October. There's a mobile workshop or a walk in the park on Tuesday, October 24th. Intro to Comprehensive Development Planning, so the CDP was scheduled for October 26th, but that has been rescheduled in November. I will also be pasting my contact information as well as a link to essentially what I just read, as well as any additional information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to reiterate, one of the public notice and announcements is one of the polling facilities, which is the Arthur Langford Jr. facility that is being relocated to the Louise Waltley Library. And that is due to some renovations, I believe. It was fire damage on it. So that is on the agenda if you need that address and information. Do we have any other announcements or missing anybody that was unable to present earlier in the meeting?
Madam Chair, question.
Yes.
Were those locations early voting locations as well?
It does not state that information, so you'd have to go online to check. Unfortunately, it just shows that that location had fire damage and needed to be repaired. So, all right, as we have no updates for anybody that has been missed on our agenda, I would like to ask if anybody would like to motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Rebecca.
All right, anybody in opposition for adjournment? All right, as I see none, we are adjourned. I want to thank you all so much for joining this evening, and I do apologize for our extension. Have a great evening.